Culture matters, it matters. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. We're going to introduce two special type of extreme sports to you. This is not a usual sports that you can watch on TV or you can see them on the street. And for these two type of sports, I have to admit, I don't know too much about it. So let me introduce our guest. First of all, his name is James Cornell. He's from New Zealand, and he's a wakeboarder. And the next one, Andre Niederman, and he is a glider.
Sometimes a lake this open and pristine needs to be disrupted. What better way than wakeboarding? James Cornell, a New Zealander, has, since moving to China, taken up wakeboarding. He gathers groups of friends to glide, slide, and ride. Man has always dreamed of flight, of being among clouds and soaring over mountains. But from where does today's glider come from? Kites were flown as far back as 400 BC in ancient China and was a popular form of entertainment. Leonardo da Vinci, best known for his famous artwork, was also an inventor and designed flight machines in his sketchbooks. German engineer Otto Lilienthal was the first to make repeated successful flights. He based his design on the aerodynamics of the stork. It wasn't until 1903 that brothers Wilbur and Orville Wright made the first successful flight in a gliding machine that was heavier than air, propelling humankind forward to the next age in aviation.
Okay, so two of you.
Yeah.
One is in the air, one is on the water. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm representing the people from the inland area. Okay,
Yeah.
So first of all, acrobatic gliding, right? That's the name of this sport.
Yeah, it's basically a plane made of carbon fiber. It has two wings. You can get it as a single or a double seater, and it just doesn't have an engine. So we actually just work with pure air. We have two seats. Some gliders have two seats beside each other. Some of them have two seats behind each other. And the thing is that you usually hook up the glider to, let's say, a small motorized plane, a Piper or a Cessna, to pull up the glider to a certain altitude, and then you disconnect the cord from the plane that's pulling you up. And then you take it from there. You just glide with the wind.
Let's go to James too. What is wakeboard? To me, I know surfing board. What is wakeboard?
Wakeboarding uses a shorter board than a surfboard.
Well, we have one here.
Yes.
It looks like a small board.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, the wakeboarding takes the dynamics of surfing, skating, snowboarding, and using the same sort of dynamics as those sports, except you're being towed behind a motorboat.
Oh, okay.
And it's similar to skiing in a way. You're getting towed, but with wakeboarding, you use the wake of the speedboat itself to jump, and do some tricks behind it.
But you put a pair of shoes in front of that. Are you wearing those shoes when you do wakeboarding?
Yes. Basically, you have some binding boots which are held onto the board, and that locks your feet into position on the board. What that does, when you go to do a trick or to jump off a wave or a wake, that keeps the board fixed to you so you can do some tricks.
Sounds like a surfing. Most of the people that I saw when they do surfing is with a bare foot, without the shoes on it.
Yeah, surfing's different. Yeah, surfing you have a board and you're not attached. You either have some wax on the board which keeps your foothold on the board. But surfing, it's not so good to have a fixed binding, because if you fall off on a wave and you're attached to the board, you're probably going to break your leg or something because of the force of the wave.
For acrobatic gliding, how far can you go and how fast can you go?
The distance all depends on the altitude, the initial altitude where you start off. The world records, they're like over 1,000 kilometers. And the speed, it all depends on what type of plane you have. You usually fly at around 130 kilometers, maybe 120 kilometers an hour. But you can go up to 300 kilometers an hour if you want. But you obviously, if you go very fast, then you lose a lot of high altitude.
Lose the altitude?
Yeah, you lose a lot of altitude.
Okay. So how high can you go?
Well, that all depends on the equipment. I usually go maximum maybe 5 kilometers, 6,000 meters maximum.
6,000 meters?
Yes. Yes, but
Well,
then
that's
you
quite high.
usually need an oxygen mask for that.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
the question I'm going to
Yeah.
ask, because in that kind of area, you need more oxygen then.
You need an oxygen mask, and you also need a transponder which is sending a signal for commercial planes to be able to recognize you. And then you have to have a special license, which is called a voice license, so in order to
Use the radio.
Use the radio, exactly.
I see. So how big is your plan? How big is your glider? Does size matters?
Basically, you can say the larger the wingspan is, the higher the gliding coefficient is. And the gliding coefficient is, just to give you an idea, 50 would be a gliding coefficient, which is pretty high. And 50 means that you can fly 50 kilometers straight and lose only 1 kilometer of altitude. So if you have a gliding coefficient of 30, you can fly only 30 kilometers and you lose 1 kilometer of altitude.
So you can calculate it before you actually fly up.
You need to know it. You need to know it because obviously with a glider you don't have the same possibility as with a single engine plane. Because if you miss the runway, you can't go up anymore.
There's no turning back.
There's no turning back, yeah.
And talk about the speed.
It's scary.
I mean, wakeboarding is a fast speed sports, right?
You've got to have an initial speed of probably about 15 mile an hour. Actually get up off the water and have the board planing. Probably the best speed is, depending on your skill or what you're trying to do, between 17 to 21, 22 mile an hour.
So you have to wear life vest, of course.
Yeah, for safety you need to have a life vest, preferably in most cases something that's approved by US lifeguards. So in case of any accident, which can happen, you will float to the surface and you can be rescued.
Sounds like both of the sports, besides the life vest, doesn't have too much safety gears. For instance, like some other sports, you have a lot of safety gears, and you're just sitting on your glider without anything. There's no nets, underneath to go with you. And of course, on the water, you only have a life vest. So we're going to talk about the dangers and the beauty of these sports when we come back after the break. Don't go away.
The plane would turn like 2 times 360 degrees in a second.
There's a very famous ancient Chinese carpenter named Lu Ban. He's the one who invented the kites.
A military helicopter came as well. I really had to aim at the runway very quick